All right, we are down at Something to Talk About. It is a lovely rainy afternoon in Mudgeeraba, and I'm here with Sergeant Sean Miles, who's our interview today. Something to Talk About is an event we hold in Mudgeeraba each Friday night, 6 in November, December, and then 6 in January, February, and we get together in the village. Before we kick off, we always like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we're meeting, the Kumameri people, and pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. And when we talk to elders from this local area, they pass on their well wishes, their respect to elders from our community, people who are not from a First Nations background or from other cultural backgrounds. And that's part of what we're doing here tonight. There are 3 reasons why we host Something to Talk About. The first is economic. We're trying to gather people in the village on a Friday night, activate the Friday night economy. Hopefully they'll visit local restaurants and order local takeaway and enjoy a bit of a music in the park. And the second reason we get together is we think the community is stronger, better when people gather together and enjoy community together. And the third reason is cultural or history. So whilst we're also profiling a bunch of really awesome emerging musicians from the Gold Coast, it's great to have a chat with some of our elders in the local area. We've talked to Earl Hincham from the Darcy Doyle Art Awards and Brad from the Mudgeeraba Rural Fire Brigade, and we're trying to make sure that we capture a really good cross-section of the different history, the diverse history of our local area. This event would not be possible without Living Events, who are the stage managers. We're really thankful to Living for helping us with all the booking of the artists and the managing of the stage. We also want to thank the Lions Club of Mudgeeraba, who are effectively hosting the event. They're the sponsor of the event, and they raise money in our community to help out community members in need. We also want to thank Bookness for this beautiful couch. They've helped us out with the couch, which we think sets the tone really nice for our interview. But most of all, we want to thank our guest tonight, Sergeant Sean Miles. Let's get cracking.
Thank you. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
Well, Sean, why don't we start?
I don't know whether I've ever been called an elder, but anyway, there's always a start for that.
Why don't we start with how you got into policing? Obviously, as a young boy, there's lots of young boys who decide they want to be a policeman. What happened with you? What drew you to policing?
I grew up watching cowboy and Indian movies, right? So cowboys and Indians, and the sheriff was the ultimate cowboy in town. So I grew up watching ABC TV and Outback, the Northern Territory actually, and I grew up watching those movies. And there's not a lot of call for cowboys, and there's not a lot of call for sheriffs. So the closest thing I could get to it was being a policeman.
Oh, wow.
So here I am, and I've been doing it for 32 years.
And was it your first career, or did you do something before you joined?
No. My first career, I actually worked at an auto sales place called Repco.
Yeah.
They still exist today, selling car parts. Then I worked in an ice factory packing ice in Darwin in the Northern Territory, which is a pretty good job in Darwin in the Northern Territory. And then I went on to be a nurseryman, growing plants. And after that, I wanted to chase being a policeman because that's what I really wanted to do.
And when you entered the police force, what was the training program like at that time to get people in? What was it like back then?
Totally different to what it is today.
Wow.
Yeah. It was 12 months back then to do it, and there was a university component that we went through, and we did a lot more physical stuff than they do today, I believe. And there's a lot of things were a lot different. You know, we used to do a Mack truck run where we'd run 5 kilometres outside the academy around a Mack truck dealership in Inala and run all the way back to the police academy.
Wow.
That was the norm. Things are different. You're not allowed to leave the academy today in case you get hit by a car or whatever it may be. But yeah, things are a lot different back then, but it was just challenging, and I suppose it's still challenging today.
Yeah, so what are your responsibilities at Mudgeeraba, and what brought you to Mudgeeraba?
I've been on the Gold Coast my entire policing career, so 32 years. And I've been in Mudgeeraba for about 22. I love the Mudgeeraba community. I live within Mudgeeraba. I have for the last 7 or 8 years. Before that, I lived at Cedar Creek. Before that, I lived at Mudgeeraba again. So I've come back. So I really enjoy
all the good ones come back, Sean. All the good ones come back.
100%. I enjoy Mudgeeraba's still got a bit of a country feel to it. And I really enjoy that. So that's why I'm here. That's why I live here. I'm a policeman, and I'm fortunate enough to live in the community which I police, which is just up the road there. And I enjoy working here.
And there's about just over 20 people rostered or scheduled to work out of the Mudgeeraba police station. Can you tell us a little bit about what sort of things you face on a day-to-day basis?
On a day-to-day basis, basically you're dealing with juvenile crime, domestic violence and mental health is probably the big 3 that come to mind. they're almost a daily occurrence, or sometimes a multiple a daily occurrence. You might attend multiple incidents of those in your 8 or 9 hour shift. So they're the majority of it, and it spreads out from there to traffic accidents, to traffic enforcement, to vagrancy and type street offences or public order type incidents, to every crime you can imagine. So armed robbery to whatever.
And can you tell us a little bit about how the different ranks work in the police service? So you're a sergeant.
Yep.
And then there's Senior Sergeant Matt Pike, who's a senior sergeant. He's the officer in charge.
Yep.
How does it work down from there?
So Matt Pike's the senior sergeant of the Mudgeeraba Police Station. So he's basically the boss. He works day shifts, essentially, and all the other staff after that work a rotational shift work. So they work all the shifts in the rotation, which is night shift, day shift, afternoon shift. So next level down is a sergeant, which is my level. We've got 3 sergeants at the police station. Next level down is senior constables, which are guys with 2 stripes. And we've got a variety of senior constables and constables, which make up the 23 odd staff.
Yeah. And what happens when you first enter the police force? You start as a constable, or you have to do a series?
You start as a first year constable. You do your training at the academy. You come from the academy. Mudgeeraba is actually a training centre for the Gold Coast. So all the trainees come to Mudgeeraba, and then they get dispersed out throughout the Gold Coast after that to various stations. But they all come back to Mudgeeraba for training. So, and then they do a year on the road, learning from a field training officer how to attend jobs, what to look for, what to do, and then really the policing starts after that. So it's a 2-year adventure to really start.
And what's Mudgeeraba like compared to other places around the city?
I like it.
Yeah, right.
I like it. Look, it's busy. When we're not busy, we just get deployed to other areas that have the calls for service. So if Narang's running hot, we'll be running there. If Rabina's running hot, we're running there. We just go wherever we're needed, as they do come here. So if we're tied up, the Narang boys will come down here, or girls will come down here. So you just get deployed to the immediate area, your neighbouring divisions.
Yeah.
So
when we're thinking about the way that police work in the community, there's some relationships that you guys strike with other community organisations, and there's also some broader kind of informational roles that you guys play in helping people be safe even without the police around. What sort of things do you guys do in relation to working with other community groups?
Well, we work with lots of community groups, but we also have things like the Neighbourhood Watch. We have a couple of Neighbourhood Watches within Mudgeeraba. We work with other community groups, even the Lions Club at times, with the rural fireys, with the fire service and the other emergency services. But basically, working with the community, it's just open-ended, isn't it? I'm here working with you today.
Yeah.
I've spoken to Ros Bates, our local member as well, at times. Yeah. And we have a great working relationship with everyone from the politicians down to the guys who work on the council, sweeping the streets and keeping the Mudgeeraba looking great.
Yeah, that's great. So what do you love most about your job? Other than giving Matt curry when you have to.
Yeah, no, look, it's a challenging job, policing. Some days it's really, really good, and some days it's not so good.
Yeah.
You get to meet the worst of people on their best days and the best of people on their worst days, and everything in between. So I enjoy basically helping people, okay? I know it sounds corny, I know that's a line that everyone uses, but that's probably why I joined. Probably joined to actually help people, serve our community and do the right thing. And in being the right thing and doing that, you really you're becoming a leader of your community, if that makes sense.
It does. Could you tell us about a day that you felt most proud to be a police officer?
Some of those days are far and few between. But I guess one that comes to mind is a couple Christmases ago, just before Christmas, a lady brought her son into the police station and gave me his report to read. And I wonder what it was about. And I read this report from this boy who just finished year 12, and I went, that's the guy. That's the guy. And I remembered that he came in February, his dad had passed away in January, and was going through year 12, and his mum was having a bit of trouble with him. There was a bit of issues, as you would expect. Father passes away, He's a little bit troubled, and Mum brought him down to the police station and told me the story. And I had a chat to him for about half an hour at the police station. We walked around and I showed him the cells and showed him where he could be, and I showed him where he wouldn't want to be, and we talked for probably half an hour. And then at Christmas that year, I got a Christmas card and I come down to the police station and they brought me down his school report. So in February when he started school, he was totally disengaged. He was going down the wrong path. In December, when he came back and saw me and thanked me, he gave me a copy of his school report and his mum baked me a Christmas cake.
Oh my gosh, that's so beautiful.
True story, yeah.
That's a beautiful story.
His report was great. So he's now an engineer.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I like to think that in that one instant, I changed somebody's life. So that's probably
it's a good story.
A good story.
It's a good story, Sean.
From tragedy that he was facing,
yes,
he came out the other side, and the guy's an engineer today. So,
that's awesome.
And that's only a couple of years ago.
Yeah, that's great. But there's obviously days that are a bit tougher, hey?
Oh yeah,
a bit tougher. So why don't you tell us one of those days where you're like, oh my gosh, this is just the most terrible story, or tell us a silly story, a bad situation.
Look, there are terrible days and you get to do lots of terrible things in our job. And at Christmas time, we talk about the road tile and all those types of things. The last thing I want to do is go and knock on somebody's door and deliver the unthinkable message to some family member. So that's a terrible thing we get to do. We never want to do it, and you never, or the community never want to receive that phone call or that person knocking on their door. But if we're talking about funny stories, I'll tell you my shit story.
Okay, here we go.
So, fairly early on in my career, we went to a house to pick up a fella that had some mental health issues, and he had a warrant to take him back to hospital for his treatment that he wasn't going to. So, long story short, a few of us went there because he could be a little bit violent from time to time, this fellow. Anyway, he runs out of the house, escapes, stands out on the street corner out the front of his house. So we're all working out, what do we do with this guy? How do we approach him? And he pulls down his pants and squats in the gutter and does the shit.
Right.
So then he bends down and he grabs the shit and he rubs it all over himself.
Oh my gosh.
And we're going, what the hell is going on here?
Yes.
And then we worked out, okay, who's going to get to wrestle this guy, to take him into custody, to take him to the mental health facility for treatment.
Which rookie gets the bad job?
Which was the lowest ranking police officer, and luckily for me, that wasn't me.
Oh no! Wow, that is quite a shit story.
It's a shit story, but it's true.
But obviously these days it seems like mental health is a more prevalent issue than in the past. So, how do you manage the complexity of that as a police officer?
It's difficult at times. Mental health is a lot more prevalent than you know, and mental health is a core job that we attend on a regular basis. So dealing with it is challenging. We receive training in dealing with it, but you're still dealing with humans and human emotion. It's difficult. I don't have the answers. I don't have the medical training to diagnose or deal with people. We can just do the best we can to try and protect them and put them in a place of safety, whether that be a facility that can treat them or hook them up with some support network that can give them some support in the home, which isn't always possible. On the wayside, Australia had about 3,500 suicides last year, which is a lot of people with mental health that have taken the ultimate choice to end their life, which is a tragedy. I'd like to see a lot more funding put into mental health, because if you compare mental health, 3,500 to the 1,200 people killed on the roads in Australia, or the 60-odd women killed or people killed in domestic violence, it far outnumbers any of that.
Yeah.
And it probably needs to be brought more to the forefront, whether that be through funding or through just discussions.
Yeah, what a fascinating insight about the changes in data and how we're kind of analysing that as well. That leads me to the next part I wanted to ask you about. Obviously, over 30 years of policing, 32 years of policing, technology must have changed a bit. What sort of things are you using now that you didn't use 30 years ago? What could you say were some of the most profound changes in technology?
The internet. Now, people look at me like I'm are really old. And I don't think I'm that old, but when I talk about the internet, I'm old, right? So I can remember when a fax machine was the latest thing in the world. You could put a piece of paper in and send it to the other side of the world, and someone could read your letter or read whatever. And now we've got the internet, and you can be done, email, transferred immediately. It's just, the internet is obviously a big game changer, but the technology that we have to access the internet and real-time data through an iPad has changed the game. So I can pull out my iPad and log in and pull up a TMR photo, a transport photo of you, and see, oh, yeah, that is you driving that car. I have actually got the right person.
Yes.
So the technology has come a huge, long way. We talked about onboard computers years and years ago, but now we've just got an iPad which does a lot that an onboard computer will do. Not everything, but and then we've got technology like Q-Face, where we can look through video footage and it'll run it on a program and then identify a person's face. It's not at the stage where we see in the movies where they scan 1,000 people in the crowd and pick out the terrorists. It's not like that. But we can run images of faces and tell who people are to a certain level, which is, we never had that years ago.
Yeah.
And it's game changing when you have the amount of CCTV that we have around now to access. Like a lot of people that are committing crime, they're on CCTV, a lot of their faces are exposed. There's programs where you can tell the way someone's walk and their gait and all that sort of stuff to link them into huge advances in technology in the last 30 years.
So do you think, is CCTV a really positive step in our community to helping the community be more safe and the police do their job?
I think it is. And you've got nothing to worry about unless you're doing the wrong thing.
Yeah.
I mean, we have the City Safe camera network, as you know. And, you know, I've spoken to you in the past, and we move cameras around from time to time to address issues within Mudgeeraba. And I don't see a negative to that. I only see positives to it. Sometimes the negative is it's pouring rain and the footage from the camera is not that good. And that's beyond our control. But, yeah, compare that to when I joined the police. We drove around in a police car with a radio, and we had a button that we would press to turn the siren on, and you'd pull it back out to change the tones. It would go, ee-oh, ee-oh. I'm not joking.
Wow.
And now we have, press the button, the sirens come on, the lights come on, it changes tone. Like, okay, I get all that. That's all good. People don't even think of that, but 30 years ago, you pulled the siren out, you pushed the siren in, changed the tone.
Wow.
So,
what is the rule with sirens? When we hear a siren in our community, what does that mean? What is happening when we hear the siren?
pay attention is the first thing I'd say.
Yes.
Look in your rear view mirror and try and work out where that siren's come from, because it's probably coming from behind you, and you probably need to get to the left and get out of the way, because it's not just me or the police that are coming. It might be the ambulance officers, the fire, you know, the fireys, anyone like that. And we're not doing it for fun. We're doing it because we're going to an emergency or someone needs help. So my advice is, if you hear a siren, look in your mirrors, have a look around, work out where they're coming and get to the left. Give them clear access.
In 30 years, you would have seen like human behaviour be sometimes frustrating. What's one of the things? Is there a few things, or one or two things that you would think, you know, people should really do this? They don't do it, and they should do it. What are the things that are irritating about what we could do better as a community to help police do their job?
I guess if you really take responsibility for yourself, and that's across the board, whether that's taking responsibility for you throwing a litter in the street, taking responsibility for your children, taking responsibility for the way you drive your car. You know, it's how you conduct yourself, really, isn't it? If we can get people to take a little bit of responsibility for themselves and their actions, it'll go a long way to fixing a few things.
Yeah. That personal responsibility piece is so similar with council as well, Sean.
Yeah,
you know, people
and,
taking pride in their community.
If we can instill that in our kids, we'll probably have less kids that are 13 running around driving stolen cars doing stupid stuff.
Yeah.
And look, I've got kids. I knew where my kids were 24 hours a day, but I certainly knew where they were at night when they were 13. So as a parent, take the responsibility and find out where your children are.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think appeals most about Mudgeeraba? Obviously, Mudgeeraba is pretty quiet. Kind of, some people describe it as a bit of a sleepy town, sleepy country town. But what is it that you love about it most, and particularly in the context of your role as a police officer and someone who's in charge of community safety?
I love it, the fact that it is deemed a sleepy little place. It's not actually that sleepy, but
Pretty busy.
It's as sleepy as the Gold Coast is going to get, okay? But I can walk down the street and say, "G'day, Glenn," and you say, "G'day, Sean," or "G'day, Roz," or I know a lot of people, and they know me, and they can all say g'day to me. They'll come and shake my hand or whatever, as they do with you.
Yeah.
And show me another community where you get that community interaction and that friendship, mateship on this level. I don't know where it is.
No.
They would exist, but I'm a little bit selfish. I like Mudgeeraba, and I think it exists pretty well here.
And I think also in a big city like the Gold Coast, that sense of close community, that sense of knowing your neighbours is something that's a bit more prevalent here than in some of the other suburbs around the city.
100%.
Yeah.
And look, if you know your neighbour, if there's an issue, you can go to your neighbour.
Yeah.
And people have their house broken into, for instance, and I talk to them on the phone and they say, "Have you spoke to your neighbour? Does your neighbour have CCTV footage?" "Oh, I don't know who my neighbour is."
Wow.
"Oh, how long have you lived there?" 20 years.
Oh my God.
5 years, 10 years. I'd lived there 5 days that I'd be knocking on my neighbour's door saying, "Hey, I moved in next door, da-da-da-da-da, what's going on? Yak, yak." Just being friendly.
Know your neighbours. And that's a great first tip for what the community can do better to make the police's job
Know your
easier.
neighbours.
Know your neighbours.
Know your neighbours. Get on with your neighbours. Be a little bit flexible. If your neighbour's having a party, that's great. Do you have parties? We all have parties. It's only when they're having a party every Friday, Saturday night that becomes an issue, yeah?
Of course.
So be a little bit tolerant. But yeah, know your neighbours and give them a little bit of respect, and they'll probably do the same for you.
What are the top 3 things that community members can do to make their houses more safe and the community more safe?
I would say the respect thing is obviously about the community, but if you want to make your house and your possessions safe, I mean, when you go inside at night and you go into bed, lock your doors.
Yep.
Lock your doors. I understand it's hot. The windows have got to be open or whatever. If you've got some sort of security screens, great. But when you put all your possessions on your kitchen bench, like your mobile phone, your car keys, your wallet, where have I got to go to get your most valuable possessions? The kitchen bench.
Yes.
Where's the kitchen in relation to your bedroom? The other end of the house. So take all your valuables with you. Don't leave them on the kitchen bench. Put them in your top drawer in your bedroom. Crooks hate going into bedrooms because people are there. They might wake up, they might get confronted. So take those valuables, put them in your bedside top drawer or whatever while you're sleeping. They might break in. They're going to go to the kitchen where they always go and they're always successful, and they're going to find it empty. They'll go to your neighbour's kitchen where they're going to find the car keys, phone and wallet.
That's right. What do you think about home CCTV? Is that something that we think is important? Home CCTV, like is that what people do these days?
Yeah, it's a lot more prevalent now, home CCTV, and you can get pretty cheap cameras from Bunnings and all those sort of stores. And look, they're better than nothing. They're better than nothing. A lot of them go to the cloud, a lot of them don't, a lot of them have a hard drive. But if you've got some sort of footage that you can give to us, we can send you a link and you can download it onto a site. It goes straight on to the relevant occurrence. So your house is broken into, we send you a link, you upload the footage to the link, you go to your neighbours and your neighbours have got footage as well, you upload that to the link. Yeah. Now we've got 2 different angles, 2 different sources. They might pick up a car on the street, park outside your neighbour's house that doesn't show in your footage.
I mean, that's another great example of how technology has changed policing. Being able to do that. You're not relying on eyewitness accounts anymore. You're relying on camera footage.
Camera footage. And it used to cost thousands and thousands of dollars for a basic camera. Now you can get a camera for $400.
Yeah.
And it's pretty good quality.
Yeah.
And you don't have to hardwire, a lot of battery operated. A lot of them go straight to a cloud. Just get on and Google what you can get for your money and you'll be surprised.
Yeah. I want to finish the interview by talking a little bit about the police service in general and what it takes for a young person who might feel a sense of community responsibility and want to join the police force. What's involved these days with someone wanting to join the police force and get involved in the training?
Yep. Well, they're actively recruiting police at the moment. They're looking for good candidates to join the police service, so it's a great time to come and join. But what I'd say to you is, do your research, find out what policing is a little bit about. Go down and talk to the officer at your local police station. Have a conversation of what shift work involves. What are you likely to be doing? How does that affect your family? Because they're all questions. If you've got a family and kids and wives and things, they all need to be factored into that decision, because policing's not for everyone. It's for a lot of people. It's challenging, but it's also very rewarding. So anyone that's looking to be a police officer, you can jump on the website, go to the police service website, the recruitment page. There's a whole list of items there that you can go through to take to make an application. Or there's a 1300 number, 1300 be a cop.
Wow.
Ring that number.
And they just have a call centre available to take people's calls if they're interested in that kind of thing.
And they'll answer your questions. But go and talk to your local police. That's where I'd start. Go and talk to your local police, see what it's about, see what they do, see what their reality is. It's not all beer and Skittles, obviously.
Barely any beer.
There's no beer anymore. Correct. But it's very, very challenging, but it can be very rewarding at times as well.
What do you wish that you'd been told when you joined the police force? You know, a young Shaun Miles entering the police force, what do you wish you got told right at the start?
I wish I got told how much it would change, because looking back, I yearn for the old days.
The old days are good days.
Where we could do certain things that we can't do today. But yeah, I don't know. When I first joined the police, the sergeant sat me down and said, "Oh, you should have been here 30 years ago. It was so great. We did this, this, and this, and we kicked them up the arse, and we did." And now, 30 years later, I'm the sergeant going, "Geez, you should have been here 30 years ago. We did this, this, and this." But I get it. Times change. Look at the technology that's changed in that time. The world moves on. If you don't move with it, you get left behind.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, that's a really good reflection, and I suppose I want to finish just by saying thank you, Shaun. Like, you've served our community for 3 decades, and it's an honour to be talking to you today. You know, I want to thank you for the time you spent in Mudgeeraba and keeping our community safe. Your community thanks you. I thank you, and it's been a real pleasure to talk to you for something to talk about today. Thanks very much, mate.
Cheers, mate. No worries.
Yeah.